Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to do my best to answer a question a subscriber asked me. This question is, how do I prepare for a day on the lake without taking more than I need? And then the second part was boat positioning. Guys, from the bank, this video also pertains to you when it comes to packing for the day on the lake. So stay tuned. It's going to be a good one. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we got a good one for you. This was a subscriber's question, and he asked, how do you pack for a day without bringing more than you need? On the boat, this gentleman has a boat, or this can pertain to you bank anglers. And then the second part of the question we're going to cover is boat positioning, which we'll cover too. Okay guys, so it's simple. There's many conditions that'll really zero in what you should have on the boat or on the bank with you. This being such as temperature, time of the year, wind, whether it's cloudy or not, cloudy or clear skies, murky or dirty water, or clear water. Once you know what that is, then we can break it down into colors, lures, and techniques that might work for you depending on what you want to do. Whether you want to be out deep or whether you want to be shallow. Okay guys, I think without getting into too much of a video, I would say I would at least take a finesse rod. This will do your smaller paddle tails, your shaky heads, your wacky rigs, your Nico rigs, your Ned rigs, your spy baits. These are all good baits this time of the year, and they're excellent to have if your waterway is pressured. Then I would want something to cover the top. Now for me, if I'm like on the bank and I don't want to carry 10 rods with me, I tend to bring my frog rod. This way if there's matted vegetation, I can throw a hollow body frog. But then I can take some monofilament with me, tie a leader, and if I'm on open water, I could throw a buzzbait, a whopper plopper, a popper style bait. The next one I would probably suggest to do is have some kind of medium action. If you don't have a technique specific crankbait rod, have a 7.4 to maybe a 7.6 medium action rod and use that for your cranking rod. Square bill crankbaits are great this time of the year if you're shallow. But if you want to get out deep and you want those suspended fish, your DT, Rapala DT series are the way to go. And finally, but not least, we want some kind of bottom-oriented rod. And for your jigs, your Magnum shaky heads, your bottom-oriented baits that, like I said, your jigs and your things like that we can also use for spinner baits. Now I would use a medium heavy action rod, probably run fluorocarbon regardless if it's dirty water, fluorocarbon regardless if it's clear water. I've got my bases covered. But then I can run a big jig down there to the bottom in deeper water. I can run my Magnum shaky heads down there and bounce them off the bottom, my Neds if I wanted to bring Neds. Bigger spinner baits, bigger, maybe you want to throw your mag draft, your 6-inch mag draft. Well, you can throw that on a medium heavy action rod. Again though, I'd probably face more towards my crankbait rod for that because it's treble hook, and you want a more parabolic bending rod. But the point is, guys, there's a few ideas there for rods. If you have those few rods that you can turn into multi-purpose rods for multiple techniques, then there's that much less in the boat with you. What do you use? Well, that's a hard question for me personally to answer for you guys. That's something I would want, I'd look at the conditions of my lake, such as, do I have clear water, is it stained, or is it really dirty? you know, chocolate milk. We're talking inches of visibility to maybe less than a foot would be chocolate milk. Am I going to have wind that day, or is it going to be dead calm? Am I going to have clear skies or cloudy skies? Okay, guys, so let's say we go, the day we're going to go out fishing, we want to fish shallow. We've got chocolate milk. We've got overcast skies, or even sunny skies, but the lake's calm. Okay, so what am I going to use? I'm probably going to run a black and blue chatterbait, a chartreuse and white square bill, a yoga pants, Z-Man yoga pants colored Ned rig, a black trick worm on a shaky head, or I might even turn it into a Nico rig and bounce it, a black Yamamoto worm, black and blue Yamamoto, Gary Yamamoto stick worm, wacky style. If it's dead calm, I might run a white buzz bait, or a popper. Those are just some of the ideas. On the other spectrum, say it's ultra clear. Say we got sunshine. Now I'm going to probably go straight fluorocarbon where I can. Depending on if I have matted vegetation or what kind of cover, I might run a spy bait, translucent. I might run a watermelon or a green pumpkin straight tail worm, or some kind of straight tail worm on a drop shot. I might run a smelt colored TRD ticklers as a Ned, a white fluke, ghost pearl white fluke, you know, or a natural type of colored fluke, natural colored square bill if I'm up shallow. If I go out deep in those same conditions, I might turn it to chartreuse and white or chartreuse and blueback DT series, Rapala DT series, to get those suspended fish. I might run a chartreuse and white or just plain white spinnerbait through there. If I have wind, and I know we've talked about this before, if we're on the lake and it's windy, and I happen to have it, and I know it's going to be windy, that's a good time to run a spinnerbait, guys. It's an excellent time for a chatterbait. Your topwaters don't tend to do as well in the wind, so I'm going to stick with spinnerbait, chatterbait. Those are my two main goes. Maybe a square bill or a deep diving crankbait if you're out deep. If no wind, then, you know, the spinnerbait, the chatterbait might die off. If I really want to use that, I'm going to find current in the lake that I'm using them in, and I'm going to fish that current. Let me think here, guys. But just stay natural in clear water, okay? Now, the only time in clear water that I might go to an opaque or solid color lure would be, say, if I have complete overcast day like I do today. We got complete overcast. Then I'll use an opaque lure. We have a little bit of wind, so I might use a big swim bait. You know, depending on the size of the fish, and what I'm targeting. If I know there's a lot of little fish, I might shy away from the big swim bait and stay with like a 4-inch paddle tail, maybe even a 5-inch paddle tail. But you know, I can use the solid colors now. But if it's clear skies, I'm definitely going with a translucent crankbait, translucent skirts, translucent worm, you know, watermelon, green pumpkin, stuff like that. Okay, guys, well, I'm beating the hell out of that topic. Boat positioning. Now, that's another good one. Depends on the cover that I'm fishing. When I personally go out, I'm a shallow water fisherman. Not saying I won't go out deep and catch them, but I typically like, because I don't have a fish finder, so I can't physically see the structure under the water, I like to stay shallow where I can physically see the structure. and then I'll target said structure. Not saying I can't do that. If I'm going out deep and I don't have a fish finder, that's when your heavy football jigs, your heavier Nico rigs with Magnum worm, your deep diving crankbaits, anything to give you bottom contact so you can feel what's down there and decide where the structure is. That's where it comes into play that you need a good sensitive rod so you can feel the bottom contours and stuff and decide how you want to attack it from there. If you don't have a fish finder, if you do, you're going to know what's down there and you can plan accordingly. Boat positioning is simple as this, guys. Fishing is all about angles. So I'm going to face my boat towards the dock, but I'm going to keep my distance, but I'm going to also keep the sun facing me. I don't want to cast a shadow onto my target. Casting a shadow onto my target in shallow water will give yourself away. I'm also not going to wear bright clothes because if I'm in clear water, those fish can already see me. If I'm wearing something bright, I don't blend in with my background. It's just kind of like hunting. You're not going to run out there in pink outfit in the middle of archery season and expect the deer not to know you're there. You're going to try to camo yourself up. Same thing with fishing. If you're shallow and you got a lot of clear water, them fish can see. So you want to keep your distance, make long casts to them. But you also at the same time don't want to wear any crazy shirts. You want to try to blend in with your background. You want to keep the sun towards you so you don't cast a shadow onto the target that you're fishing. And a couple examples of targets would be, say I'm fishing a dock from the boat. I'm going to hit the front end of that dock first, then the middle, then the back. Never cast all the way to the shoreline and then work your lower back, because if you happen to get a bite in the back and you're fighting that fish, everything from the front out, from the bank out, is going to be spooked and you just limited your catches. Same thing with a lay down tree. If I'm on a boat, I start from the outer front, work my way in. Guys, if you're on the bank, this pertains to you too. But it's the opposite. From the bank, you start from the bank, a few feet out to the back corner, if you will, the closest corner to the shoreline, and work your way out. Lay downs are a little bit more difficult, but it has the same purpose. Start to the closest to you and work your way out. If I'm running covered at, like, say, riprap bank or something, I might parallel it. Shallow cover such as a riprap bank, I'll parallel. I'll position my boat in front of the boat so I'm casting parallel with the bank. Maybe 10-15 feet off the bank, running that lower back. Guys, it's all about the angles. Also, learn where the current's going to be. Like if you have a windy day, fish the wind-blown banks, guys. The wind-blown banks is going to start up the ecosystem in the water. This is where all the bait fish are going to be because all the microorganisms are there. That's where they're going to be eaten. And guess what's going to come along with them? The big bass, the big predator fish will follow them in for food as well. So always try to follow the wind-blown bank for that particular. If you have days where one bank's just getting hammered with wind, that's where I'm going to be. I'm going to find that wind-blown bank and I'm going to work that because that's where the ecosystem kicked off. So just as an example, say I decide, no, I'm not going to go to the wind-blown bank. I'm going to go to the opposite bank where the wind's coming over and it's not as windy. Well, by doing that, it's deprived of food because the minnows aren't there, the microorganisms aren't there, and your bigger fish aren't going to be there. They're going where the food is. How do you know when to go deep, when to go shallow? Guys, that's a good question, and that's a preference that you have to make. I wouldn't feel right because there's no right or wrong answer to that. If you like deep water fishing, go out deep. If you like shallow water fishing like myself, I stay shallow because I can physically see the cover that I want to target. and I can do that. I don't have a fish finder. Next year I plan on getting a decent fish finder on my kayak, but for now I'm visually finding the targets. Out in 20-30 feet, I'm not going to know what's down there unless I drag the bottom. If I'm not having any luck and I've covered a lot of water in the shallow and they just don't seem to be there for whatever reason, then I'll go out deep. That's when I'll have my deep diving crankbaits, my big jigs that I can drag the bottom, see if they're down there. But most of your bass right now are going to be suspended. So you want a bait that's going to stay at top above them, like a hover rig, a mid-strolling minnow that you can keep above them or right in front of them. Drop shot would work as well. If I'm fishing drop shot out deep, I'm obviously going to use a heavier weight. Let me think here. So how do I know what weights to use for what depths I'm in? Guys, if you're fishing shallow, it's simple. Lighter weight. Depending on what you're doing, say you're dragging a jig, I'm going to go with the heaviest weight that I have to go with, which may be up to a 1/4 ounce, that if I'm dragging a jig, that I can keep bottom contact. If I go out deep, I use the heavier weights, 3/4 ounce, because again, if I'm dragging the bottom, I need to keep it on the bottom. Not just a rule of thumb for weights and depths. Guys, this video hopefully was helpful for you guys. Like I said, I'm trying to cover everything. It's a very complex question. I hope it was helpful. If you have any other questions, please ask them. I'll leave them down in the comments below, and I'll do my best to answer it. But like I said, when it comes to where to fish on the lake, that's going to depend on the structure of the lake, the conditions, temperature, etc., etc. As far as what to take will also depend on that. But 5 colors, guys, no matter if you're using swim baits, glide baits, big swim baits, jigs, crankbaits, you need 5 colors. That's a good baseline. That'll cover all your conditions. And just use multi-purpose rods, guys, like I said. Maybe something for finesse, something for cranking, and that can be used as cranks. And maybe like heavier jigs or whatever, or not, excuse me, Nico rigs and things like that. I would have a topwater rod, something to run jigs, something to run crankbaits, and something to run finesse. That's all you really need. And then just cover water, guys. Find the structure. If you're a shallow fisherman, get a good pair of polarized glasses. Find the structure. Keep the sun behind you. Do not cast a shadow. Do not get too close. Make those long casts. Start from the outside. Work your way in. If you're from the bank, start from the bank. Work your way out. But other than that, guys, that's as simple as I can make it. I mean, like I said, without going into 2 hours worth of the variables that could be happening. Hopefully this video helped you. If so, hit the thumbs up button. If you have any other questions or something you want to add, or you just want to say hello, please leave it in the comments below. Love to talk to you guys. Love to interact with you guys and love the questions. And if you haven't subscribed, please consider doing so. It helps out the channel tremendously. We're growing, guys, and I want to say I really appreciate y'all. Let's keep it going. All right, guys, we'll see you on the next one.